Hey guys, it's Brian with Retired at 40, and today I'm really excited because I finally have the opportunity to compare all 4 Harvestright pumps. And Harvestright has 4 great pumps to offer now, but some are better than others. So today we're going to put all 4 Harvestright freeze dryer vacuum pumps head to head and see what happens. So first things first, I want to welcome you to the channel if you've never been here before. My name is Brian, also known as Retired at 40 on YouTube, and we do all freeze drying on this channel. I've been freeze drying for almost 4 years now, done thousands of cycles, and freeze dried just about anything you can think of. And during that 4 years, I've seen Harvestright, the freeze dryers, and freeze drying in general grow quite a bit. And as freeze drying has gotten more notable, Harvestright has also grown a lot as a company. And as they've grown, they've also gotten a lot better, as well as the pumps have gotten a lot better, which is arguably the most important part of the freeze dryer. So today we're going to go over all 4 options: the low profile oilless pump, the upright oilless pump, which some have coined the Eagle, the Premier pump, the lime green one, and then just the standard pump that comes with all freeze dryers. We're going to go over the general specs of each pump. We're going to compare them side by side. We're going to do a decibel test to see what the sound difference, how loud or how quiet in some cases they are compared to each other. We're going to talk about power consumption and what kind of wattage these are pulling. I'm going to give you the overall pros and cons of each pump, and then if you stick around till the end of the video, I'm going to give you my least favorite to my favorite pump out of all 4 choices. So we have a whole lot to cover in a short amount of time, and if you want a deeper dive on individual pumps, I have videos on those as well. I'll put them down below in the description, but without any further ado, let's get into this. The first thing we're going to do is go over some specs of each pump. The first thing I'm going to do are weight comparisons. First up is the standard pump, 36 pounds, almost 37 pounds. And then our next contestant is the Premier pump. I've really grown to love this Premier pump. The weight of this, 34.6 pounds. This oilless pump, and I'm not going to lie to you, this thing is like a cinder block, 44.4 pounds. Weight looks like only 17.2 pounds. The next thing we're going to go over are just the quick measurements. Next up, I want to see what all 4 pumps, what kind of power they're pulling, and we're going to do that by using our kilowatt meter. First up is going to be our standard pump, and you can see that we're zeroed out on our meter. Next up, the almighty Premier pump. Let's get this thing started. You can see it's dropping in wattage very quickly once it gets started. We're gonna let this mellow out a little bit so we can get a real wattage out of it. And it just keeps dropping in wattage. It gets more efficient as it gets going. And now it's dropping into the 240 wattage range. 3.2 amps. Our oilless pump. We're zeroed out, and don't be alarmed when I turn this on. This is the normal sound. It's had some time running now. It's dipping down into the 430s, and then still right around 4.3 amps. Okay, so we have the oilless going. It does not have a power switch, so it does not turn on until the Harvestright tells it to turn on. So our meter does not turn on until that point. But our amperage is about 2.28 now that it's kind of chilled out for amperage, and the wattage is around 246. It's kind of just been hovering right around there. So now that we've seen that, let's see how quiet or how loud each pump is. I'm going to use a real decibel meter. I'm going to measure from about 4 feet away from the pump, and then we're going to go all the way outside the room. We're going to close this door and see how loud it is outside of the freeze drying room, probably about 20 feet away with the door closed.
This is really where the Premier pump outshines all of the pumps, and as soon as I stop talking, you can see why. You really cannot even hear anything going on in there. Obviously, if the freeze dryer itself was on, you'd have a little bit more noise, but the pump itself is so quiet. I really want to encourage you to do some research on how decibels are measured as well, because even though some of these are only a few decibels apart, each decibel that you go up the difference is huge. So keep that in mind. I also want to mention that I am not paid by Harvestright to promote their products. I am, however, an affiliate because for me it's very easy to promote products that I believe in, which in this case I've been using this for many years. I love the freeze dryer. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and the quality of the food is good that it produces. So if you're considering buying a freeze dryer, please use my affiliate link down below. It really helps out the freeze drying community. I put affiliate money back into our social media groups, which we do giveaways every single week. We're developing products that streamline the freeze drying process, and it really just benefits the freeze drying community as a whole.
All right, well, congratulations if you've made it this far into the video, because to me, I think this is the most important part of the video, because I'm gonna give you all the pros and the cons of each pump, and this part of the video is gonna be the easiest, I think, for me, because I've used all 4 of these pumps so much. We'll start with the standard pump, which is included with every freeze dryer, so it's more or less free. Every one thereafter will be an upgrade. And I also want to mention that these are all 7 CFM pumps. They can all be interchanged with different size freeze dryers, so if you change your mind later, you can always change or upgrade or downgrade or whatever. They are all plug and play, and they all work with all of the freeze dryers. So the standard pump, real simple. First and foremost, it comes with the freeze dryer. That's probably its biggest pro, is that it's free, it's included, and it does the job in every way. It does, at the end of the day, does the same job as any of these pumps will do. And if you flip back in the video to where we were comparing the decibel levels of this pump, it's actually relatively quiet, especially for the least expensive pump. And one thing I want to mention when we're comparing all 4 pumps is you pretty much have to separate yourself into 2 camps, the oiled pumps and the oilless pumps. If you don't want to screw with oil at all, then you only have 2 choices. And if you don't mind changing oil, and maybe it's like a cost savings thing instead for you, then you're going to be in the oiled category. And being an oiled pump, I think the longevity of this pump will be pretty long. Both of the oiled pumps, in my opinion, will last longer than the oilless pumps. And as for the cons, there's not really any major cons. Like I said, this does the same job that every single one of these pumps do. It does the same job at the end of the day, and it's free. And if anything ever happened to it, think about how many of these you could buy for the price of an oilless. Really, the biggest con of this pump is that you have to change the oil every 3 to 5 cycles, but that's a great segue into the Premier pump. Because this Premier pump can go 20 to 25, even more than that, cycles without an oil change. And maybe that doesn't sound like a big difference, but if you ran your freeze dryer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're basically not having to change oil for up to 2 months maybe. It could even go farther than that. In the many cycles that I have run on my Premier pump, I think I've only changed the oil 3 times at this point. And if you have this Harvestright filter, which now comes with the Harvestright, oil changes are easier than they've ever been now. So let's go over the many pros, at least for me, on this pump. It's very quiet. It's a upgrade, which for what it does to me is well worth the money. You get lots and lots of cycles in between oil changes. It runs very smooth. It's very good quality. This pump also has an onboard inverter, which converts the AC into DC, into a DC motor, which makes it more efficient. It makes it run quieter, and I think overall it will make the longevity of this pump quite a bit longer than any of the other pumps. As for the cons of this pump, you are still changing oil. So if you don't want to have anything to do with oil, then you can just cross this one off your list. And really the only other con that I can see with this pump is that every once in a while on a cycle, it will put a thick fog in the air. If you're expecting it, it's not a big deal, but if it's your first time and you're not expecting it, it can seem a little bit concerning. One of the things that this pump does so well is keep that oil really, really clean, and that's why you don't have to change it very often. And that fog is just kind of one of the byproducts of separating the water and the oil and keeping that oil clean so you don't have to change it very often. So next, let's move on to the alleged maintenance-free or oilless pumps. While it is true that you do not have to change oil, hence the oilless, you do still have to do a dry flush, which now it's recommended that you do one for 15 to 20 minutes, which to me at this point is kind of more of a pain in the butt than just changing the oil. And when you have a filtration system like this, usually an oil change is really only 2 or 3 minutes. But I don't want to dog on the oilless pumps too much because they have their own place in the lineup of pumps, and the benefits that they have for you and your situation might be a lot greater than they are for me. So let's check out the Eagle. So the Eagle, or the upright oilless pump, was Harvestright's first option for an oilless or maintenance-free pump, and it has had lots and lots of tried and true results and people that have been using it for thousands and thousands and thousands of cycles now, and years and years of use. And at the time it came out, it was well worth the money because you no longer had to mess with oil. It was an extremely good quality pump. This was a laboratory grade pump that would be twice as much if you would buy it on the open market. In my opinion, it has many, many flaws. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's loud, it uses the most electricity out of all 4 pumps. It's the largest size out of all 4 pumps, and also it's the largest footprint. And it, along with the other oilless pump, are the most expensive options there are. Did I mention that it's loud? It also puts out a large amount of heat, which means you're limited on where you can put that pump, and that makes me question the longevity of that pump. It's recommended by Harvestright and the manufacturer that you have it serviced every 3,000 hours. I believe that costs about $350, and that rebuild cost is obviously at the cost of the buyer every 3,000 hours. Last, let's talk about the low profile oilless. Big pros to me is it has resolved the heat problem because each side has a built-in fan to the pump. It runs extremely cool. This pump runs cooler than any of the other 3 pumps, and it's not hot to the touch. You can pretty much put it wherever you want. It's light. It blends in with the freeze dryer a lot better. It's relatively quiet, and from my research at least, it consumes the least amount of power of all 4 pumps. And as for the cons of this pump, it's the highest priced upgrade. The maintenance of this pump is not really yet known because they have not been out long enough, at least at the time of this recording. This pump also requires the 20-minute dry flush, and the inventory of this pump has been pretty hit and miss. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get your hands on this pump. So now I'm going to give you my opinion on my least favorite pump all the way up to my favorite pump, and I can guarantee you I'm going to get lots of grief for this one in the comments section, but please make sure that you do all of your due diligence before you purchase a pump. I'm just one opinion, and you owe it to yourself before you make this big purchase to do all of your research. Don't just take my word for it. So for my least favorite pump, if you've been watching the video and paying attention, you probably already know by now. I'll give you a clue. It's not in this picture because I didn't see a reason to own it anymore, and that would be the Eagle. Once I bought the low profile oilless, I saw no reason to own the Eagle anymore. The low profile does everything the Eagle does, but does it lots better, to be honest. Number 3 would be the standard pump, and really there's not much to say other than it gets the job done and it does what it needs to do. And other than changing oil, I think it does all of that better than the Eagle does. Number 2 is going to be the low profile oilless. I really like this oilless the more I use it. I just don't think that it's as good as the premier pump, which is number one. I think most bang for the buck. It's really not that big of an upgrade price-wise over the standard, but you just can't go wrong. I always find myself gravitating towards the premier pump. The one thing that time will tell is if this low profile oilless pump will withstand the test of time. And as of the time of this recording, there's just not enough data out there. I've had lots of people reach out to me that say they have lots and lots and lots of cycles on this with no hiccups, and as for me, I can say the same in my experience. And remember, this is just one guy's opinion. Make your decision based on your situation and your budget. And that's it, guys. I hope I did my job and gave you all the information that you need to purchase your next Harvestright freeze dryer pump. And if I did a good job at that, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It gets this video out to people that are in the same position as you, trying to make that all-important decision of which freeze dryer pump to buy. Should I spend the extra money? In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.